Winter refuses to leave Sandestin. It's still hanging on barely. March 1st has come and our snowbird friends have hit the trail, some of them. I'll miss seeing familiar faces in church that have been with us since November, December, but hopefully we'll be back again next November or December. I hope this finds you doing okay today. Sunday's sermon is not going to be the Sunday that we obliterate all attendance records if it gets out that I am preaching on humility. I told you we would kind of look at some things in our life that probably need to be cleaned up and dusted off if we're going to be more like Christ as we move toward Easter. And the Lenten season's a good time for that. One of those things in our life that keeps us from being what we really should be is pride. Just that sense of being prideful. Sometimes we call it, when it's out of control, arrogance. But it doesn't have to be arrogance even to be in our way as we think about trying to be more like Jesus. So the three passages that you might read this week as you think about Sunday morning, and I hope humility doesn't scare you off. That's the opposite of pride. So that's really more of what I'm saying, is certainly not to be prideful. How do we be humble? What does it mean when the Bible talks about humility? Matthew 5:5 will be a text that you'll be very, very familiar with. It's short and sweet. The meek shall inherit the earth. And it's couched there in the Sermon on the Mount. And that word meek may jab us a little bit right off the bat. It's not a word that most people in our day aspire to be. I doubt any of you, when you applied for jobs, put on your resume how meek you are. It's not something in our culture that we seem to admire. The brasher and the louder and the more brazen somebody is, sometimes the more attention they get. Meekness is not something we really strive for. And I tell you what, it really wasn't in Jesus' day. It was not a great thing to hear Jesus talk about how an enslaved people who had really been stomped on by the boots of the Romans, how they should become meek to follow him. But it's in there. Philippians 2, verses 3 through 4 are Paul's kind of follow-up to understanding the image of Christ, the person of Christ that we should seek to be. And in some translations it says, count others with humility as more important than yourselves. Treat each other with humility and count one another as more important than yourselves. Who does that? I mean, it's nice to ask people to treat someone as they would like to be treated or to care about them equally. But to say, to be like Jesus, we need to consider someone else's needs more important than ours. How can that be? But isn't that what he did? And then we'll also glance at a text that's found in 1 Peter 5, verses 5 through 11. Sounds like a lot of Bible, but it's really not long. And in that passage, we learn that God opposes the proud, but he gives his grace to the humble. So let's talk about humility on Sunday and what that means in terms of being like Jesus and saying we want to be humble. There is pretend humility. There are people that aw shucks and scuff the ground, but you don't want to turn your back on them because they're pretty aggressive and pretty bold, and they're not really seeking the kind of humility that we're talking about. So it's not lip service. It's not something that comes easily. We'll talk about how it applies, but we're not made to be humble, really. We have defense mechanisms that do everything but teach us humility. What we have to do is go back into our understanding of God and following the Spirit to learn those tools for being humble. So I hope you come Sunday. I'll be proud if you do, but it won't be that kind of pride. It'll be the good kind. I'm proud of this church and of its mission and what we do here in Sandestin. For those of you who listen in and never attend here but get a little something out of this sermon preview, great. We're happy you do that. If you ever want to watch the sermons, they are posted on the website for the gathering at Sandestin. They're posted usually Sunday night or Monday morning at the latest. And you're welcome to glance at those. But I hope you have a blessed week and look forward to seeing those of you who can come on Sunday.